Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a truly captivating topic today, taking a really close look at a very specific, honestly very high standard set out in the scriptures. And it's a standard that sounds incredibly simple on paper, but when you look back at the historical record, it has actually tripped up some of history's wealthiest, most powerful, and wisest minds. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to unpack a concept that has essentially defined the ultimate success and failure of ancient leaders. And the whole thing centers around one incredibly powerful idea: the standard of the complete heart.
Which brings us right to our central question. This is the thought that completely anchors our analysis today. What does it actually mean to serve Jehovah with a complete heart? It's a phrase that comes up again and again in the historical records of the Bible, and it serves almost as a final verdict on a person's entire life. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, it can be a bit of a mystery, right? Like, is it just an ancient idiom? Is it purely an emotional state? To really grasp what was required of these ancient figures, and what the phrase fundamentally demands of any of us, we are going to need to intentionally look past our modern assumptions.
To get to the absolute bottom of this, we basically have to strip away our modern, highly romanticized notions of what a heart actually is. Today, if someone says the word heart, we almost automatically think of pure emotion, romance, or, fleeting feelings. But in a strictly biblical context, the word is used in a much more comprehensive, much weedier way. The Bible uses the word heart to describe the complete inner person. It is the absolute core of who you are when no one else is looking. In a very real sense, it's the entire engine that drives a human being.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how wide-reaching that definition truly is. Look at these 7 components of the inner person laid out in the scriptures. The biblical heart includes your desires and your thoughts, which, we might expect. It encompasses your overall disposition and your everyday attitude. But it goes so much deeper than just feelings. It also includes your capabilities, what you're actually willing to put into action. It involves your deepest, most hidden motivations and your ultimate goals in life. It's like a giant puzzle. When the scriptures talk about the heart, they are talking about this entire complex system. It's a completely holistic view of the inner person.
So how does this detailed, highly demanding definition play out in reality? Well, the absolute best way to understand it is to test our new understanding against some actual historical case studies. We are going to look at a tale of 4 kings of Israel. These were men who had absolute power, staggering wealth, and incredibly heavy responsibilities on their shoulders. Yet, despite all their massive geopolitical achievements or failures, they're remembered in the historical record primarily for one single thing: the true state of their inner person. Let's start with a phenomenal success story. Meet King Jehoshaphat. He was one of the kings of Israel who truly pleased Jehovah. And the scriptural record in 2 Chronicles chapter 22, verse 9, tells us exactly why. It says, Jehoshaphat searched for Jehovah with all his heart. For a king with literally endless distractions, political pressures, and national crises to deal with, searching for God with all his thoughts and motivations was a massive achievement. Think back to our list of the inner person. This means his hidden desires, his ultimate goals, his private thoughts, and his driving motivations were entirely aligned with his worship. He didn't hold a single piece of his inner person back. Then we have King Josiah. The inspired record gives Josiah what might be one of the most powerful endorsements in all of human history. 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 25 says, "There was no king like him prior to him who returned to Jehovah with all his heart." Again, we see that exact standard being met perfectly. His devotion wasn't just a political strategy or some surface-level ritual. It involved his full capabilities, his total, unwavering attitude, and his complete disposition. Josiah worshipped with a thoroughly complete inner person, mobilizing every single part of his being toward his faith. But history is rarely just a string of uninterrupted successes, is it? We have to make a vital cautionary pivot right here. What happens when we look at the other side of this historical narrative? What about figures like King Solomon or King Abijam? Now, these were men who had the exact same religious framework available to them. They had the exact same royal duties, the exact same access to the scriptures, and yet their historical legacies are entirely tragically different. Let's look at the exact scriptural assessments of these 2 individuals. We know that King Solomon possessed legendary wisdom, unimaginable wealth, unprecedented success, the whole shebang. Yet, the record notes a tragic shift in his later years, where he actually did what was bad. Why? Despite his brilliant mind, 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 4 diagnoses the root cause perfectly. His heart was not complete. And regarding Abijam, another unfaithful king who failed to live up to the standard, 1 Kings chapter 15 verse 3 states simply, his heart was not complete with Jehovah. They failed precisely and uniquely in the area of the inner person.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it visually juxtaposes these two historical paths. It's incredibly revealing. On one side, you have the complete heart, beautifully modeled by Jehoshaphat and Josiah, demonstrating total inner alignment. On the other side, the incomplete heart, tragically modeled by Solomon and Abijam. We see starkly different historical outcomes based entirely on one hidden factor, whether their inner desires, thoughts, and life goals were completely unified in their worship, or whether they were divided, fractured, and basically incomplete.
Which naturally leads us to ask, why was there such a difference? I mean, if Solomon was the one who actually built the magnificent temple in Jerusalem, and Abijam went through all the standard royal motions of a king of Israel, what was inherently missing in their approach? How could someone have the outward appearance of exceptional worship and even construct giant religious monuments, but still be fundamentally judged as having an incomplete heart? I want you to reflect on that core difference for a second, keeping in mind how comprehensively we defined the heart earlier as the true driving engine of a person.
So the crucial point is this: a person with a complete heart doesn't just go through the motions of worshiping God. That is the ultimate dividing line. Solomon and Abijam might have maintained some outward routines, sure, but a complete heart absolutely requires genuine love. It means your actions are driven by sincere affection and deep personal motivation, not just mechanical, empty routine or a sense of mere obligation. You literally can't fake the inner person. If the core desires and thoughts aren't rooted in love, the heart is incomplete.
And that brings us to one final essential detail we draw from the scriptural record regarding this really high standard. Serving out of love is not meant to be a temporary phase. It's not a brief, youthful burst of enthusiasm. As the historical accounts show us, a person with a complete heart serves out of love and devotion throughout their entire life. Remember, it was specifically in Solomon's later years that he lost his way. Maintaining a complete heart is a lifelong commitment, requiring constant vigilance to keep your thoughts, desires, and goals actively aligned with Jehovah, year after year.
It really makes you pause and deeply examine your own motivations, doesn't it? To take a hard look at exactly where your own inner person is directing you. For more information, please visit jw.org. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon to get the notification for new videos.